Hey, everybody, I am Shayna Weber with ISA, and this is the Emerging Screenwriters Interview Series. Today, I'm super duper excited to be chatting with Alex Sarrigeorgiou, who has the most intimidating last name ever. If you're seeing this, that you pulled up the interview, you'll be like, whoa. But I think we got it. But I'm going to have Alex introduce yourself and actually tell us how it's really pronounced outside of America.
Yes, happily. So, hi, I'm Alex Sarrigeorgiou, or as it's said in Greek, Sarrigeorgiou. That is how you actually say it. But we're happy with the Americanized version. And I'm a writer, an actor, a filmmaker, and I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Awesome. So before we jump into sort of like origin story and where you're at, I like to do a couple of icebreaker questions. So what are you watching now or reading now? It can be any sort of, creative thing. What's on your brain right now that's how they say slapping or like in there? Like I'm all Taylor Swifty right now. So where are you at?
I'm not a Swiftie, sadly. I'm sorry.
It's
But
okay.
let's see. I've been going to a bunch of SAG screenings lately, and I went to the SAG screening for Pillion last
Hmm.
Friday.
Oh,
I
I've
don't
heard
know,
about
have you
that.
seen this? It's
Yes.
Alexander Skarsgård
Ah,
and Harry Melling, who was Dudley on Harry Potter in like a BDSM rom-com. It's
right.
so fun. And it's like, it was really tender and moving by the end of it, but it started out like laugh out loud, hilarious. I had a blast. I loved it.
Awesome. I was wondering about that because I've seen the
Yeah.
previews and I'm like, that looks like yes, but like I don't know,
I went in completely blind, which lately, that's been kind of my thing lately. It's
Yeah,
like trying to go into movies knowing next to nothing.
I like that too.
Um, and it kind of, I find it helps. It helps to like not have like a preformed opinion of what you're going to see. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, basically now the trailers show you everything.
Yeah,
And so
no,
you
I've
have
been
this
avoiding them.
expectation going in of what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, I agree. I like going in blind and not knowing a lot about it. It makes the experience, as what it should be
Yeah,
going to see a film.
totally.
Okay. And then what is something that you watched, read, experienced in this medium as a kid that sort of like you think is something that formed who you are today?
The first thing that pops into my head, and couldn't explain to you how exactly it's formative, but it is The Sound of Music.
Okay.
You know, The Sound of Music. I freaking love The Sound of Music. I watched it a ton as a kid, and I've watched it a ton as an adult, and it holds up. It's like a stunning film in every way. And I always cry at the end. The last
Yeah.
line always gets me. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a great one. I love it. Okay, so let's dive into. Usually I start at like origin story, but actually in this for you, I want to talk about what's current right now. So can you talk about your film In Transit and where it is right now, what's going on, and then let's dive into sort of like the process of this because it's been a process
Yeah.
and you're finally here. So yes, let's talk about In Transit.
Yeah, so In Transit is my first feature film that I've written that's gotten made, and it's very, very exciting. And it's directed by Jacqueline Bethany, and I wrote the script and I star in the film alongside the incredible Jennifer Ealy and Francois Arnault. And it's how would I describe it? It's a very contained, intimate queer drama shot in Maine and in New York. And we had our world premiere at the Edinburgh Film Festival this August. We then played at the Deauville Film Festival in France last month. And we are having our North American premiere at NewFest this Friday in like 48 hours and change. Very exciting.
Yay! So, how did this idea for In Transit, since you wrote it, how did that come to be? And then, yeah, let's just start there and then we'll go to the next step.
Yeah, totally. So I'll give you the very quick logline, which is that In Transit tells the story of Lucy, a bartender in a small town bar in Maine, who I play, whose life is sort of thrown into disarray. She finds out the bar she's been working at her whole life is about to be sold, and in this moment, this woman comes into her life, Ilsa, who's a painter, who is visiting this small town in Maine on a sort of artist's retreat. She's having a bit of an existential crisis about her work, and she asks Lucy to model for her. And the relationship that forms between them sort of changes them both, or changes how they think about what they want in life and what's important to them in life. And so how it kind of started, I worked as a figure model as my day job. This was a few years ago, and I did it for a few years. And so maybe in 2019, I want to say, is when I first had an idea for a script about this. And I was in the middle of like a drawing session in somebody's living room, and I just was thinking to myself, like, what a weird thing I'm doing, you know, and how it's both intimate and not intimate at the same time. Like, you're kind of letting someone look at you really intensely in this really focused way for hours at a time, but they're also not quite looking at you. They're looking at your form, but sometimes it feels like they are looking at you. I don't know. I was like, this is interesting. What's this about? So I wanted to write something about that. And then at the same time, I think I was having a bit of an existential crisis where I was like, you know, I've been out here in New York hustling for years as an actor, as a writer, trying to make stuff. It's really fucking hard. And is there a version of my life that would be happier if I stopped trying to like make important art and be somebody and make stuff, and just found a job I liked in a place I liked with a lower cost of living and had a community, and that was it. And that was, you know, so I think that sort of existential crisis turned into these two characters that are kind of approaching life in very different ways.
I love that story. I mean, I don't love the existential crisis thing, but, you know,
But, you
I
know,
love
don't
that
we all feel it in moments?
you brought real life experience and that sort of question from, you know, the figure modeling, which I've been on the other side of that, of,
Yeah,
you know, drawing. And it's true, like you are staring at this person's, you know, naked or nearly naked body,
yeah,
and you're looking at shapes.
yeah, totally.
You
You're
know,
like
you're
that shadow under her nose. Like,
yes,
what is
that's
this
what
woman
you're
doing
looking at. You're
here?
looking at the shadows. You're
Yeah,
looking at the negative space.
yeah,
And so, yeah, that's an interesting idea. It's true, because you feel like Blair, like they think I'm looking at them, but I'm really not.
yeah, but
I
you
can see
really,
all the beautiful shapes and stuff. So,
it's such a funny thing. But to me, it's also, I can't draw to save my life. So when I turn around and somebody has like drawn or painted me and it actually looks like me, it's the freakiest thing where I'm like, how do you do it? How did you
yeah,
get what I'm like in this way? Like, I don't
yeah.
know. I find it freaky.
I was never great at it. I mean, I'm looking at shapes and I'm drawing shapes. Like
Yeah.
I was not great at it, but you know, I still did it. Okay. So you wrote this, and then what did you do with it? Like, how did you get, I think so many people are curious about, you know, okay, I wrote something and I do want to produce it, or I do want
Yeah.
to act in it. I want to take it to the next level, not just hand it off to somebody. So how did you do that?
A long, long road. I mean, one of the first things that happened is actually I had submitted it to something through ISA, and you guys had responded, and I'd gotten a really lovely email, and there was somebody that was interested in meeting with me at some point, and that particular person didn't end up working out, but I think that was the first like sort of stamp of
Mm.
affirmation from somebody that was like, hey, this script is really good. And I feel like, I mean, for any writer out there that's like getting rejections on rejections on rejections, getting somebody to be like, oh, hey, I see this. I see what it's about. Here's what it meant to me. Like, that can be so huge. Anyway, so that's my little ISA shout out. But then it was, honestly, I wasn't quite sure how to go about it. I was like, I think I could see this being made. I don't really know what to do about it. And I just kind of started telling people about it. And I think it was a very sort of informal, like, you know, when I'd be at a party with a bunch of film people, I'd be like, hey, this is what I'm working on. Like, I'm looking at trying to find a producer for this. And at some point there was somebody who had worked with one of my now producers, Cece Kellogg, on something, and he was like, hey, I think you should talk to her. And we met up for drinks. And it's funny because I remember now, it's, you know, I was like, oh, we're having drink. I'm meeting this person. It's going to be a totally casual, whatever thing. And then we meet, and she's immediately very like, so I hear you have a script. What's your script? And I was like, oh, I was like, okay. And then, I just kind of talked to her about the script and she ended up, wanting to read it and really loving it. And that was kind of the start of it, where I was like, okay, we're gonna produce this. We're gonna make this. And then Cece had worked with Jacqueline Bethany, who's the director of the film before, and so she kind of suggested we chat with her about directing it. And then from that, the team grew and grew. We added on more producers and it became a thing. And then it was a long time of like fighting to find more money. Like that's the hardest part is money. Like independent filmmaking, anybody that's ever done it, that's the hardest fucking piece of it is finding money.
Yeah.
And that was just a lot of like emailing literally everybody and talking to literally everybody and trying to see if somebody knows somebody who might be interested. And it's hard. And that part feels like I'm still not great at the business end of things, but I've learned a ton through doing it.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of like, what's the word I'm looking for? It takes a lot of just putting yourself out there and realizing that like if you send an email and it's not for somebody, it's fine. It doesn't matter. They're not gonna like sit there judging you. They don't,
Right.
they're
They're not
like, oh,
thinking about
interesting,
you
not for
better.
me. And then they move on with their lives. It's,
Yeah.
but that can be scary at first.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you mind me asking about what the budget was?
Yeah, totally. Ultra low budget on the SAG scale. So under 500,000, like
Okay.
ultra low budget scale.
And did your money come from like one source or is it a bunch of
No, it came
sources?
from a few sources,
Okay.
like a couple of primary investors, and then some people that put in smaller amounts of money. And it was, I mean, that part was hard and scary. And,
Yeah.
you're constantly like trying to fill in gaps.
Where are you hoping that In Transit goes? Since it's premiering, North American premiere, is it going to play at other festivals? Are you sending it out to those? Like, what are you hoping for?
Yeah, so we've got a few more festivals lined up. So a few regional festivals coming up. We're going to the New Hampshire Film Festival, St. Louis. We're playing at the Melbourne Queer Film Festival, which I wish I could go to Australia, but I can't, but that's cool. And then, yeah, we still have it out to a few more places. So I think it'll keep doing the festival rounds for a bit. And then, of course, the goal is distribution. So we're, having some chats with people and, our goal would be to see it have a small theatrical release and then be streaming somewhere. So you can
Awesome.
find it.
All right. Well, if anyone is watching this and they have any contacts to distribution,
Please.
send us a note. Okay. So now let's back up to you are an actor and a writer and a producer, and you're also a poet, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. So tell me about your origin story, about when you first got, like, what came first?
It all kind of started in college, I would say. I went to Vassar and I was a drama major there. So I was mostly doing theater there. And that was something that I'd never done before in my life. I kind of got to school and was like, what do I want to do? I kind of have a feeling I'd like to explore this. I've never tried it before. And then I took a couple of theater classes and was like, oh yeah, this is it, But then while I was there, I also took lots of English classes, writing classes. I think at that point, it probably was writing poetry, just like probably crappy high school poetry at some point that then turned into slightly decent poetry. And screenwriting came a bit later. Like screenwriting came maybe I would say a few years out of college, 2017, 2018, something like that. And it started with a short film script that became a short film called Conspirito that's based on the poet Elizabeth Bishop and her time at Vassar in the 1930s. And that really started as, I don't know, it was kind of a like for fun project. It was like I was interested in her and I was doing a bunch of research on her, and then I was like, oh, I think this is a story. And I just kind of started writing a short film. And I think at the time, I was auditioning a lot as an actor, and I was in my early to mid 20s, and I had a lot of really shit experiences where it was like I'd be getting auditions for like naked girl number 4 and like brunette number 2 that says nothing and is just naked in the background somewhere, and it was really disheartening, and like, and I don't think it was so much intentional in my mind that was like, oh, I need to make my own stuff. But I think there was a connection there where it was like, okay, I'm getting auditions that are not quite parts really. And I'm interested in all this stuff, and I'm interested in characters in this way. And then yeah, I started writing, and I wrote the short, and then I ended up making that short film with a friend of mine, Patricia Selznick, and that was the first time when it was like, oh, okay, I can actually make my own stuff. Like this is cool. This is, um, and also sidebar on that, Patricia and I also have a limited series version of that story that I've written the pilot for. So if anyone's interested in that.
I personally had never heard of, it's Elizabeth Bishop, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd never heard of her. So when I was
Yeah.
reading up about you for this, I looked her up and I was reading some of the poems and I was like, these are interesting and not they're yeah, it took me a while to sort of like get the
Yeah.
rhythm. What
Yeah.
about Elizabeth Bishop was inspiring, interesting, or curious, what
Yeah.
curiosity?
I think she's amazing. She's one of those people who is often taught in like high school. Like there's this one poem of hers, One Art,
Yeah.
that goes, "The art of losing isn't hard to master." That's like often taught in high school classes, maybe college classes. That's like, a classic. And it's a stunning poem. But I think I got into her as a person because she went to Vassar where I went to school, and so it sort of was more about like the lore of her as a human person than about her writing. And then I fell in love with her writing through that, if that makes sense. Like I
Yeah,
think
totally.
I kind of rediscovered her as a writer through getting to know about her as a person. Um, and I think the story we follow in the short film Conspirito is about her and a group of girls at Vassar in the 30s who were getting rejected from the school's like literary newspaper, and they decide to form their own like rebel literary magazine,
Oh,
and like put it out anonymously and do their own like, edgier writing. And I don't know, something about that is so inspiring and so
yeah,
cool. Like I think there's parallels in like we were in an industry that's full of gatekeepers, and this
yeah.
idea of like, fuck the gatekeeper, I'm gonna
Hmm.
put out my art anyway.
So I love how you described her and sort of like her world. How do you describe yourself as a writer?
Hmm. That's so much harder.
Hmm.
Um, I think I've written all sorts of stuff, but I think the common thread to me is I'm interested in kind of characters that are searching for something, that are trying to understand themselves, that are trying to understand like meaning in their lives in different ways. And I think that can be anything from a period piece about Elizabeth Bishop to like this script I finished recently that's like takes place in like a purgatory and it's totally surreal. Like it can take different shapes, but I think the common thread is yeah, characters that are searching and that are kind of trying to figure out who they are.
And how do you think your poetry writing sort of
Mm.
translates into screenwriting and vice versa?
There's a lot in how I approach writing a script that comes from writing poetry, where I think to me, writing a poem, it's never like, for most people probably, it's never like, today I will write a poem about how I love birds. Like it's
Right.
more like you have images in your head and you have a line that's sticking out in your head and you have like this thing you've been obsessing over, and you're just kind of trying to figure out what the hell it's about as you go. And I
Mm.
think to me, when I know a poem is done, is like, oh, that's what this is about. Got it. Like, you know what I mean? Even if it's not like a clear thesis, but it's a like something has come together and I've understood something through the process of doing it. And I think for me, screenwriting is similar, where it's like, it's not like I set out to write a story that is gonna answer this question. It's more like I have a question and I'm just kind of thinking
Mm.
about some stuff, and I'm thinking about a particular kind of person or something. And then my writing the script is my attempt to figure out why that's interesting to me, you know?
Hmm. So do you start with like what's your process like? Do you start with character or, a premise or a what if? or a question that you're trying to answer? And then how do you build from there? Are you like an outliner? Are you a free
Mhm.
writer? What's your process?
I honestly think it varies. I think it starts with like a series of loose notes that could be
Okay.
anything. That could be a character trait. That could be like, I don't know, somebody I saw on the subway doing something weird. That could be like, something I've been thinking about. And that's always different, but it's always kind of, yeah, loose notes, like an image, something. And then it starts to kind of come together in my head as some sort of story. And at that point, I do like to outline. Like I like to kind of start to know the structure of the thing a little bit. So I'll usually do an outline in like Final Draft and like do all the
Mhm.
sticky note thingies that they have that I find really helpful. Um, and then try to kind of figure out things like I mean, what does this person want? What does this
Mhm.
person need? Like all of those kinds of things, which, to be honest, I don't necessarily always have an answer to, but I want to start thinking about.
I'm always interested in people's processes because mine has
Yeah,
changed so much over the years
yeah,
that it's always interesting to kind of like dive into somebody's brain of, how do the pieces come together?
totally. And it's different depending on what you're working on too,
Yeah.
right? I think sometimes it's like I've done some writing projects, like screenwriting projects for other people, and I have to have a very clear outline and I have to know what they need me to put in this and
Mhm.
where and like what's important to them that might be different from how I would organically work. But yeah, it's different. And it's different for every project.
How many scripts have you written, do you think?
I think I right now have, other than in transit, mm, two features and a TV pilot and a play.
Hmm.
and and then other projects that I've written, yeah, for other people,
Yeah.
but those would say are my personal projects. Is it two or three features? I can think of two, but I feel like I'm missing.
There's probably three, but that one you go like over here, like, oh yeah, that one doesn't really
I
count because that might
Yeah,
have been
yeah,
one that was
exactly. There's
like
always one like that.
always. You're like, I think
There's
I
two
wrote
that we
that
feel
one, but
excited to share with people.
right. I have a couple of those beginning ones. Um, how do you handle notes and feedback?
I think if I'm collaborating with somebody, if it's like notes from a director or a producer I'm working with, then I very much try to keep an open mind. And I think that, film is collaborative. It's not
Mhm.
just like my way or the highway. It's about like what this thing I came up with inspires in you that could be additive, you
Mhm.
know? Um, and I think killing your darlings is really hard, but I think it's something I've gotten more and more comfortable with, where it's like some
Mhm.
stuff that I might love doesn't work in this particular context or doesn't end up working in this finished script. And then it's like, yep, okay, delete. Like I'm not too fussy about that,
Mm.
honestly.
Being an actor, obviously,
Mm.
rejection, it's like, yeah, yeah, it comes
It
and
has
comes.
to roll off your back.
Yeah. So when it comes to like criticism about something or judgment about your work, how do
Mm.
you personally process that?
Oh man, that's such a good question. I feel like I'm finding new ways to think about that in the context of like, oh, now I have like a finished feature film that people are seeing and people are
Hmm.
doing like letterboxd reviews and things. And it's
Yeah.
like you get one person is 5 stars and has written 6 paragraphs about how they love it, and the next person is half a star and they fucking hated it.
Right.
And it's like, to me, it's always about kind of reorienting my brain where it's like, this is not for everybody, And
Right.
it's like the exciting thing is when it finds its audience. But there's some people that it's just not for, and that's okay. And um, but it can be a tricky thing. I think like that experience is new to me. Um, even though I'm used to it in the actor context. But in the actor context, it's different, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm not going to be right for every single part. Like I don't
Right.
know. And I think I've gotten much better at that as I've gotten older, where it's not like a value judgment. It's not a judgment of my worth as an actor or how good I am. It's like, oh, am I right for this? And same with like, somebody reviewing my movie or my script. It's like, it's not a like, am I, Alex, good at this? It's a
Mm.
like, is this, something that's interesting to them in this moment? And that's it.
Right. It's
Um,
really no longer about you once it's
yeah,
out there. It's
exactly.
really not about you
Exactly.
anymore. It's about them. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
exactly. And
Do they have to write a 0.5-star review? Can't they just like zip it and like move
good
on?
question. I put that out to the people of the internet.
Just move on. I mean, I'm in that Taylor Swift zone of, the haters come out all the time.
Yes, yeah.
You don't have to
You
listen.
don't
You
have
just
to, no,
keep
nobody,
going.
yeah, it's just not for you, and
I
that's
know,
fine.
just go. Okay, so let's talk about this is the little ISA segue plug that we like to do.
Okay.
Tell me about how you first were introduced to ISA and kind of what your experience has been like.
I can't remember where I first heard about it, honestly, or found it, probably just the internet.
Yeah.
But I think I had submitted to, I think it was a writing gig on the website. I think it was like a director looking for a script or something. And I had submitted in transit there. And I think it might have been one of the first things I'd submitted to on ISA.
Hmm.
And then, you know, yeah, you guys came back and had someone that was interested in meeting with me about it. But mostly it was, I think, the really thoughtful email, like I said earlier, where it was
Hmm.
like the first time it was like, oh, somebody not only thinks this is good, but gets this, like gets what this is about and what I'm trying to say here. And that is so enormously validating. Like we were saying, like in a world where it's like you're getting so much rejection, it's just it can mean everything to be like, oh, here are these random people that are not my mom that like think I'm, wrote something that's like worth something, um and you feel seen through that, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I met with that director and it didn't end up being a fit, which is okay and is gonna happen plenty. But then from there I ended up, yeah, I was invited to join the development slate, and then I was in the like top 25 screenwriters of the year, and I think it was 2022, which again is just like, I mean, not that we should need validation, but having somebody believe in your work is a huge thing.
Yeah, on those days you feel like you're like, should I be doing this? Like what you said
Yeah, like
earlier,
what am I
like, should I
doing?
just go get a regular job and just like
Yeah,
be
totally.
happy in like
Yeah.
a world that's not this? And then
Yeah,
poof, that
exactly.
one thing comes that you're like,
And you're like,
okay,
okay, maybe I don't
yeah,
totally suck.
yeah.
Like,
We're always on that thing where we're like, this is good. This
yeah, yeah,
sucks. Oh my God, this is good.
yeah.
No, this sucks.
No, this
Yeah.
sucks. Yeah, exactly.
I'm the worst writer ever. Oh my God. And
Yep.
then, oh my God, I'm genius. Yeah.
Like I'm
Always.
embarrassing myself, and then it's
Right.
like, wait, no, I have something to
No. Yeah.
say. Yeah.
So kind of speaking of that, when you look back, and you're not very old, so this you can't go back very far. But if you look back on your younger creative self, what advice would you have for her?
I think, and this kind of was a big shift for me mentally that happened at some point, and I couldn't tell you exactly why or how it landed, but maybe 5 or so years ago, I felt this click where it was like, oh, all of this, like walking into an audition room, I mean, which we never get to do anymore, sending a self-tape into the ether, like sending a script into the ether, none of that is about proving my worth or proving that I deserve to be here or that I deserve to do this job. All of it is about the work itself and the questions you're asking and the stuff you're exploring and like the art, to be cheesy, right? Like it's about the art. It's not about how good I am or how good this random person thinks I am. And I think just and I think I was thinking about this recently. I think there's a way in which when you're young, when you're like 22 and you're just starting to do this, you can know this intellectually and tell yourself this,
Mhm.
and it doesn't quite sink in. And at some point, I think it just sunk in.
Hmm.
And I don't know that there's a shortcut to like feeling that deeply, where it's like, oh yeah, I have things to say and explore, and that's what it's about, and they're not going to be for everybody, but like, it's not about me telling you I'm good. It's about me being interested in something. That's it. Yeah, I don't know that there's a shortcut to that really landing.
I love
But
that though, that I often think about that too. Like there's your rational brain that's
yeah,
like, you understand
Yeah.
like the realities of it all, but then there's the heart and the
Yeah, there's
emotional
like the
side.
deep down part inside you that
Right.
still walks into an audition room and is like, okay, I'm good at this, I'm good at this,
Right.
I should be
And
here,
then
you
up
know?
here's going like, hello, you've always been good enough. Like you're fine, you're
Yeah,
good. And then you're like, no.
but it's like hard to like
Yeah.
feel it. And I think at some point, and I think maybe it just comes with age.
Mhm.
Probably am older than you think I am, but like it's
But you
at
look
some point
great.
thanks. At some point it does just kind of sink in. There's this quote I love by the writer Annie Dillard
Mhm.
that I have taped to my desk, like as we speak, that goes, "You were made and set here to give voice to this, your own astonishment." And I love that as a little reminder of like what it's actually about,
That
you
gave
know?
me like the,
Isn't that? Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. No, I love that quote, and I feel like I come back to it often when I'm
Good.
feeling like in my head about shit that doesn't matter.
Well, send that quote to me because I think I
Yeah,
need
well.
that. I gotta plaster that up on my little
Yes.
screen every day.
Nice.
I have the quote up currently that's like, being ready isn't a feeling, it's a decision.
Ooh, I love that.
That's kind of the one that
True.
I'm okay. Because I think as females, we're always in this place where we're like, I'm not ready. I need
Yeah,
to be
totally.
ready. And like, what
Totally.
is that? It's nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a
Absolutely.
choice. Go be
Absolutely.
ready.
And honestly, working on In Transit has been a crash course for
Mm,
me for like being like, I am now doing this
yes.
and I will be telling everybody that I'm doing this and I'm going to ask for the stuff I need to do this. Like, and it's so scary, but it's like, you don't need to like wait around for somebody to give you permission or tell you you're ready or that it's your time now. Like, you
Yeah.
just need to decide you're doing it now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest parts is just putting yourself out there. It's like
Yeah.
telling people about it. Like you're not a nuisance. You're not
Yeah.
annoying someone.
Yeah.
Telling someone about something, they're not going to then think about you for the next month about how annoying you are for telling them that. They're not thinking about you. If it's not for
Not
them,
at
like you said
all.
earlier, it's not for them. Like
Not for
moving
them,
on.
and they move on and they
But
have other shit to
yeah,
do.
it's so brave and like just badass to just be like, all right, here's what I'm doing. Okay, go. And then someone's like, okay, tell me. And you're like, oh no, now I have to tell you about it.
Totally. Yeah.
That's when you got to prep
Yeah.
yourself and be ready. Okay, so last question. Well, two questions left. One is what I know we talked about like what you would tell your younger self, but what advice do you have for maybe younger or emerging filmmakers or screenwriters who are, kind of in the thick of it or feeling like maybe they're not, ready?
Yeah. It's not about you proving anything to anyone. It's about the work you're making. And like, if there's a thing you've been interested in and you've been writing about and you've been obsessing over and you've been keeping notes on, like, there are other people out there that probably find the same thing fascinating and like astonishing and want to talk about it and want to explore it and want to watch the movie you make about this or read the script you wrote about this. Um, and that's what it's about, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a nice little leg soundbite right there. And then last question, what is next for you? Like what's on the horizon? I know you have your film premiere in, 48 to something hours very soon.
Yeah, very
So
excited.
I'm sending you, we're all sending you the best wishes for that. And I hope it's amazing. And I hope everybody claps and you just feel amazing at that. But creatively, what's next for you?
So a couple of things. I mean, one is I want more exciting roles as an actor and, auditioning, all of that stuff. But I think that, playing a lead in the feature for the first time was really empowering in that way, where it's like, okay, yeah, I don't need to be brunette number four, like I can actually do this. So there's that on the acting side. And on the writing side, I have a feature that I actually just did a like new pass on it yesterday, that feels like it's in great shape and that I wanna explore producing in the next couple of years. And then, I think that'll be the next thing I get made.
Awesome. Well, it
Yeah.
was amazing chatting with you,
Hey.
and I feel like you have huge things to come. No, no
Aw.
brunette number, even brunette number two. No, you're just number one out there. So
Thank
thank
you.
you
That's
so
really
much,
sweet.
and bye everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.